Director on the Elder Scrolls Online here at ZeniMax Online Studios. It's early in the year and we're here on Twitch, so we must have a big announcement. And we do. But we're aware that some of you already might know some of the details we're going to talk about in the show. I just want everyone to know there's a lot more information that we are going to talk about in the show than has already been released. So we're going to proceed as if there haven't been any spoilers. But before we get started, I just want to say that last year was one of the most successful years for Elder Scrolls Online. We added more players to the game in 2018 than we have at any point since 2015's console launch. And this year, we'll be celebrating the 5th anniversary of the original launch of Elder Scrolls Online back in 2014. It's an amazing accomplishment, and we couldn't have done it without you, the community. You guys are the reasons why we're doing this. You're a huge part of our success, and we can't thank you enough. This year, we're going to do something new, different, and huge. We're going to have the same update cadence that you've been used to over the last couple of years with updates in every quarter. This year, though, we'll be telling one epic story over the entire year with key story beats coming in each update. To make this epic and awesome, we are introducing the most iconic enemy in the Elder Scrolls world. We're also introducing the most requested player class from you, the community, who has been asking for it since launch. And we're going to go to the most requested part of Tamriel that you want to explore more of. We're really excited about what's coming this year, so we're about to show the worldwide premiere of the announced video. After that, Rich Lambert, the creative director on Elder Scrolls Online, will be here live and in person to talk more about what we're doing, go in depth, and answer some of your questions. So enjoy the video and see you all on Tamriel.
You guys do this, man. You don't show me the trailer until we go live, and now I'm just like sitting here shaking. That dragon was so cool. Yeah. The whole video was cool, but to be continued at the... Hello, everyone. I think I do this every year where I'm so excited about that trailer. I'm Kelly Link. I'm joined here by Rich from ZeniMax Online Studios, and we're going to be talking about the Elder Scrolls Online year of 2019.
We are, yeah, absolutely.
So, back to that trailer. To be continued.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that trailer probably 1,000 times now, and every time I see it, I still just grin. You know, I'm gonna probably be grinning like a fool the entire stream. It's so good, and it fits so well with the year that we have planned. It's the introduction of dragons to Elder Scrolls Online. Finally, one of the most iconic creatures in the lore. It is. I mean, you saw it in the trailer. You know, when I'll say his name once, and then I will shorten it because it's impossible to pronounce for me. When Khajiit comes out and does his big thing, like that right there just sets the tone. Dragons are coming to ESO. And it's so great.
It is. So I was just laughing there though because I got a little voice from the producer that so before we were going to start the show we had 3 viewer goals to reach and we were going to be unlocking something with each one. The first one was going to be a Hall of Colossus concept art and we've already reached that, so that is now available to everyone. The Hot Pepper Bantam Guar pet Tier 2 has also been reached, so that is. Tell me a little bit about the pet.
So we're going to do the pet a little differently. We wanted this to be kind of a global community thing. And so what's going to happen is, now that it's unlocked, all you have to do to win it is to log in at least once over the course of January to any platform, whatever. And then when our Update 21, which is our dungeon DLC that goes live a little bit later on in this quarter, you'll get it.
So the third one is a tattoo for you. And Rich, I'm sorry to say this, but we've already reached that.
We already reached it?
Yeah, we already reached it.
Holy cow.
So have you ever gotten a tattto before?
No, I haven't. I'm blown away. I thought that was a really huge number. And I was like, yes, I don't have to worry about this. But I'm not the biggest fan of needles. So
I'm giving you a warning. I've only gotten 1 tattoo in my life, and I passed out from the pain.
Oh.
So good luck. Do you know what you're going to get?
I do. I have an idea of what I want. It might take a while. But the idea is it has to be safe for work. It has to be Elder Scrolls themed. You know, I've been working on ESO for 12 years now. So it is something special to me, and I want to absolutely do it right.
And now you have to do it.
Now I have to do it, apparently, which is, holy cow. And I'm thinking leg sleeve, you know, between the knee and the ankle, something there, something really cool.
Something that you could hide also potentially if you know?
So I never wear long pants. I
so
always wear
want
shorts.
To show, but
so
wait.
I want to show. I have to wear long pants for this.
You're wearing pants right now.
It's been mandated. I have to wear them. So yeah, sometimes it'll get hidden, but most of the time it won't.
All right. Well, good luck on that.
I am so impressed.
To reach it already, all 3 viewer goals. That was something that I was like through the show going to be like, we hit number 2. No, already all 3 done.
Right off the top. That's unbelievable.
Well, Rich, we have a lot to talk about today.
We do. It's a big year.
So, year-long story in Dragons, that cool trailer, but to be continued. The story is going to be continued.
It is, and like I said earlier, it fits into the plans that we have for this year. We were going to tell a year-long story over 4 updates. So Matt talked about it earlier. We're going to follow the same kind of cadence. So quarter 1's a dungeon DLC, quarter 2 is chapter, quarter 3 is a dungeon DLC, quarter 4 is a story DLC. And each of them are going to build on each other, and they're going to provide lore and backstory for all of the events that are going on. So it's one kind of year-long epic story.
And you guys are actually going to go a little bit more into the story later on in the year at E3.
We will. So we're going to talk specifically about quarter 1 and quarter 2. And we're going to save some of the really juicy things for E3 a little bit later on in the year. And that's actually where you're going to see the next part of the trailer.
So we have a little bit to wait.
We do.
Just a few months.
There's tons of really cool stuff that we can talk about right now.
Well, then let's talk about it. The season of the dragons, finally in Elder Scrolls.
They are.
Online.
Finally in Elder Scrolls Online. It's something we want to do for a very long time. I actually got into a little bit of trouble in an interview way back when in 2012 where I didn't outright say dragons will never be in Elder Scrolls Online. Because I knew at some point we would get there and we would do that, and now they're here, which is awesome.
5 years in the making.
It's been a ride.
I mean, well, dragons have such an important role into Elder Scrolls. What is the process that you guys took to make sure you did it right?
We spent a lot of time talking with Bethesda. You know, they're the ones that have built this amazing IP, and we get to work with it and build on the storyline. So we worked really closely with those guys down there to make sure the things we were doing made sense. And our dragons are going to be a little bit different than the dragons you're kind of used to in, say, Skyrim.
Okay.
You're not Dovahkiin. You don't have...
You don't have a Fusrada.
Right, you don't have the tools to kind of go toe-to-toe with the dragons. So in Elder Scrolls Online, the dragons are going to be that much more difficult. And you're going to need some friends, and you're going to need to kind of figure out ways to deal with these threats.
But it's not just dragons. We have even more.
We do. We have, like I said, a year-long story. And I guess the non-spoilery version or synopsis of the overarching story that we're telling is Imperials invading Elsweyr with a necromantic army, dragons running ramp shot over Elsweyr, and you have to help the Khajiit kind of figure out what's going on and why they're getting double-teamed.
The Khajiit, very, very popular. A specific one,
they
maybe,
are. You know, Matt said earlier on at the beginning of the show that they are one of the most favorite races, and Elsweyr proper is one of the most requested zones.
You guys had little bits of Elsweyr, though.
We did. We had Reaper's March and we had Canarthy's Roost, but those are kind of on the periphery, and we're going into the heartland of the zone.
But this new chapter brings a new class, and you sort of slightly mentioned it.
Yeah, there's a Necromancer. We can talk about that in a little bit. It is by far the most requested class to go into the game. I think people even in beta were asking, you know, where is this? You know, can we see this?
Well, tell me a little, well, you said we we're going to talk about that later. You're right, we're going to talk about it later. We have too much to go over right now. So first and foremost, let's talk about the chapter. The big year, big chapter, and lots of amazing stories and everything that we're going to have. We've already talked a little bit about the bits of Elsweyr that we have, but what is bringing Elsweyr to Elder Scrolls Online going to do for the game?
You're going to get to spend a lot more time learning about the Khajiit and their lore and kind of how they work. And we actually have a video that the team put together that'll give people a little bit of a sneak peek as to, you know, what they can expect.
Let's check it out. 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Welcome this year to Elsweyr,
How are we doing
the
on
mysterious southern province of the cat people of Tamriel.
So-
Little seen in
Sorry, I
Elder
was
Scrolls
just-
until now. The fan-favorite Khajiit folk. You're gonna love them. So for this year, for the Elder Scrolls Online, we're taking a new approach. We had, with the province of Elsweyr and with the threat of the dragons, a story that's so big that it even transcends the chapter format. So we're going for a full year story, all 4 quarters, all tied into one epic saga that enables you to work with these great characters to save the Khajiit and the land of Elsweyr from these terrible threats.
We've done stories that have stretched over multiple releases before, but this is the first time that we've concentrated a single theme into everything we're doing for the year. It's the year of the dragons, and it's just some amazing content that I can't wait for you guys to play.
Dragons, those dread creatures from out of the past that have been hidden away for so long, but released to threaten Elsweyr.
Going to Elsweyr gives us the opportunity to explore the legends and mythology of the Khajiit.
Arguably, they're one of the oldest Elder Scrolls races, so we wanted to show that they've inhabited this place for a long time. And that, to me, was a really interesting thing to work on. You know, a lot of the architecture is built out of their, you know, the living rock of the zone. We like to draw on real-world cultural influences or real-world geographical influences for cultures that we work on in-game. Some of the areas we looked at were North Africa, West Africa, and Yemen. Geologically, these areas were varied enough to give us enough variation for the zone, but they were also interesting enough to give us lots of cool geographical features.
If you know anything about the Khajiit, you know that the moons of Tamriel, Joan and Jode, exert a tremendous metaphysical influence over both their form and their culture. We're going to be going a bit into the basis of that, and you're going to learn more about their relationship with the moons.
Throughout the year, we're going to get to explore lots of different aspects of the Khajiit culture. We're going to get to see how they rose from 16 different kingdoms to become the united nation, or mostly united nation that they are today.
The cat folk come in many different varieties, and they have a lot of different ways of looking at the world, and that means conflict.
We're going to find out how they get to govern themselves but are still part of the Ordinary Dominion and what that means. And we're going to see some things that we haven't shown before. Possibly the different types of Khajiit that we've heard exist that we've never seen other than in books.
All of these things mix and meld together in our new chapter of Elsweyr, providing a really fast-moving and deep but exciting series of stories about pulling this realm back together and reuniting the Khajiit so they can stand tall beside their allies in the Altmerry Dominion.
I can't give away too much, but there's a number of different things that are coming that are going to shock and surprise you, and hopefully delight you.
Let me tell you, we're really excited about presenting Elsweyr to you, the players. We've shown little parts of it before with Canarthy's Roost and part of Reaper's March, but we've been thinking about this for a long time. It's been a long time coming. We're really excited about this, and we really want to see what you do with it.
Can Lawrence just commentate my life?
I know, right? You know, we always tease him that he could read a phone book, and people would just love his performance. So it's kind of not fair.
But talking about Elsweyr, it looks fantastic. I really love that in the video they show us where they got their ideas and their inspiration from. 3 different biomes that we're going to be seeing being added.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we love to do when we're building the zone. It kind of helps provide a little bit of navigational aids to the players. It's easier, there's less fatigue, and everything doesn't look the same. And in Elsweyr, we've got, like you said, the 3 major biomes. One is one is a savanna, grassland, which is fertile. You kind of saw it in that initial concept piece in the northern section. We have a desert biome that is very rocky and craggy. You can think of Grand Canyon as kind of an example, and there's actually a scar that goes right through kind of the middle of the zone that has a whole bunch of really cool rock formations and things like that in the zone. And then we have a jungle forest, which, for those that are familiar with the lore, know the Tenmar Forest is kind of in the southern region of the zone, and so you're going to get to go there and explore it.
Well, tell me a little bit about the culture of the Khajiit, and I know you touched on it a little bit at the start of it, but what exactly are we going to be seeing here? The different types of Khajiit, that's really cool.
It's a big thing. In the lore, there's, I think, 17 different types of Khajiit.
Okay, that makes sense, though.
It's pretty wacky, it's pretty wild, and we're going to show you some of them. You're going to actually get to interact with the Elfiq, who are essentially, we would kind of call them house cats. They're these really small, really cute creatures. They're super smart. They have this really strong affinity to magic, and they talk.
So wait, do they look like the Khajiit, though, or do they look like
They are
tiny
more
house?
house cat-like, and you actually saw it in that little
Okay.
bit there where they were showing kind of the costumes. The team had a lot of fun designing costumes for these creatures.
Oh, man. And this new chapter is bringing a lot of recognizable characters that we've seen way
Yeah,
back when.
That's one of our favorite things to do when we kind of start thinking about the next thing we want to work on. We look at what are the most kind of beloved characters and how we can incorporate them into the content that we're building. And this year, we of course have Abner Tharn. He's coming back. We've teased him a bunch. You got to see little bits and pieces of him. He's voiced by Alfred Molina. So he is coming back, and it's been really interesting seeing Alfred kind of in the studio and trying to remember who Abner Tharn was. It was 5 years ago that he last did it, and he actually, when he sat down, he read the script, he knew the script, he's like, I don't really remember this character. Could I listen to a few lines? After the second line, he went, I know this guy, let's do this, and he knocked it out of the park.
That's awesome.
He's so good, he so gets who Abner Tharn is, it's so great.
And he's going to be even better in this chapter?
Yeah, he has some amazing lines that he's got lined up for this. Another character that we have that is coming back, and he plays a really important role in the main story, is Sir Cadwell. So he is kind of this lovable goofball. He's kind of comic relief in the base game.
Okay.
He's that soul shriven that wears the pot on his head. He's voiced by John Cleese, and John Cleese is coming back.
I didn't know John Cleese did that voice.
He did. He did it, and it's going to be a lot of fun for players because you're going to get to learn a little bit more about who Cadwell was before he became soul shriven. And it's going to surprise a lot of people, I think, because it is not what you expect.
I mean, that's the cool part about Elder Scrolls Online, though, is that, people throughout all the different Elder Scrolls games, there's so much different lore. You guys kind of get to build your own chunk of history in the whole lore.
We live in the Second Era, which is not really full of a lot of very detailed lore, and so we get a lot of freedom and latitude to kind of build things. And I guess the last one that I'm going to talk about, we have a whole bunch of others. I'm not going to spoil them, but we are going to Elsweyr. It is the land of the Khajiit. We are going to bring Razumdar back. But he's playing the role he has in I was going to say Somerset. Wow.
Whew, last year. That was last year.
Whew. The role he plays in Elsweyr is more of a cameo. He's got an interesting storyline that he has that fits Raz to a T, and I think people are going to really enjoy it.
And there's going to be more characters as well, but like you said,
Yep.
You don't want to spoil that
no
just
spoilers.
yet.
You'll hear a lot more about them at E3 because we don't want to spoil the surprise.
And I mean, you've given them so many spoils already.
There's tons of stuff that we've still got to go too.
Well, at the top of the show, we mentioned Necromancers, and that's a class that fans have been asking for since the beginning. You going to tell me a little bit about Necromancers?
So I don't know. I said we would, but I don't know that I want to. It got data mined.
You're
all
salty.
the data miners know exactly what it is, or so they think. So let's let them sit on it for a while and stress.
Yeah? Or maybe
that's a good idea.
I think the 90,000 plus people that came here to give you a tattoo
Yeah, they did do that.
want to know a little bit about Necromancers.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Okay, thank you.
So, necromancy in Elder Scrolls lore is all about the manipulation of mortal souls and reanimating corpses. It is very much a taboo kind of art. It's something that is not looked very well upon in the world of Tamriel. In a lot of places, it's outlawed, and we're going to make sure that the necromancer itself fits and feels that way. So one of the things we're actually doing is we're going to introduce justice reactions for the necromancer. So if you do something overtly necromantic, NPCs are going to react to it, and they're going to call the guards on you, and the guards are going to come whack you.
That's so cool.
It fits the lore. It makes the world feel believable, and it just makes sense.
Are there other instances outside of cities where NPCs or anything else will interact with you negatively or even positively?
That's something that we're working on and we're looking at. We're not sure if it's going to feel right or not. We know we really like the justice reactions because it makes sense. The general populace is kind of afraid of it. But we'll kind of tune and tweak that as we go and see if we like that or not.
Is that just in Elsweyr? Or is that
is
all of Tamriel?
All of Tamriel. Necromancy is taboo.
They're not a fan.
They're not a fan.
And you were talking about a necromancer army.
The Imperials, yes. So that's kind of how the story ties in to the Necromancer. And one of the things we just saw really quickly, one of the things we do when we design a new class, and maybe we can bring that back up, is we do these kind of pose studies and the look and feel of the Necromancer. And so you can kind of see this is one of the skill lines for the Necromancer. And it already feels different. The movements are a little bit different, and that ties very well into our goals for the class, where this isn't just a sorcerer with undead pets or a dragon knight with undead abilities. It has its own unique suite of abilities, its own unique set of mechanics, and we want it to feel like the class anybody can kind of pick up and play, but there's kind of this high mastery curve. So one of the things we're doing, pets, for example, the way they're going to feel different is they're more kind of fire and forget, more turret-like, where I summon a skeletal mage on my target, and it nukes my target for a while and then collapses into a pile of bones. Or I summon a skeletal bomber, and he charges into the target and blows up into the shards of bone and leaves a corpse there on the ground. So it fits that lore and that feel of I'm summoning kind of my minion army, and also fits with the lore because necromancy isn't a perfect art. It's really hard to summon a permanent companion or reanimate something for forever. And a lot of times when you do reanimate something, it's not in perfect working order.
No.
So it just kind of, falls apart. And so it feels really good.
I like that. And something, though, that you guys do with a lot of your classes is that there's not just one way to play a necromancer.
Yeah, there's multiple ways. Like all of our classes, they can tank, they can heal, they can do damage, and each of their skill lines is kind of themed around that. One of the really interesting mechanics behind the necromancer is corpses. Corpses help power up the necromancer. So they have some abilities that create corpses, and they have others that spend them, and you can, use them kind of any way you want, but if you cast a spender, kind of on another corpse, it's going to power up and it's going to do extra damage or extra healing. And so it turns that into kind of the strategic moving the battlefield around.
And the corpses only appear by the Necromancer's ability, or if a mob falls and
You
dies.
can use any corpses.
Any corpses?
Any corpses, yeah.
That's awesome. Oh man, I can't wait to see players break that.
It's going to be fun. I think it has a really cool suite of abilities, and we're really looking forward to what players are going to do with this. And I think my favorite ability thus far is in the tanking line, and it's the Necromancer Ultimate, and they actually get to turn into this big, badass, cool Bone Colossus.
Yes.
Yes, it's awesome. It looks great.
Oh man, I can't wait. And I'm looking at my notes here to talk more about the Necro, but you're doing so much about it. Let's talk a bit about the story in the Necromancer and how that's going to be added into the chapter as well. Actually, we've already talked about that. You know what I think is really interesting that we should talk about? What's going on in PvP?
Yeah, so one of the things that we always love to do in our chapters is try to have something for everybody. And so PvP is going to get some love. Cyrodiil specifically is going to get some love. And we're going to introduce a new system that I'm going to call artifacts right now.
So it might be something different
We'll see
later?
what we call it later on, but the general premise behind the system is that there's a number of really cool, interesting artifacts in Tamrielic lore. There's only one of them. They're these unique items, and we've been trying for a long time to try to get them into the game. And that's really hard because if there's only one of them in the world, only one person can use it.
Yeah.
And that's not fun for the other, million people that are in the game playing.
Right.
So what we decided is we are going to introduce or enlist the help of Sheogorath to introduce these weapons into Cyrodiil specifically. And he's decided that there's not enough chaos in the world, specifically Cyrodiil, and he wants to kind of up the ante.
Okay.
So he's going to open his vaults and spawn these weapons. The first one is going to be Valen Drum, which is a really cool, epic weapon. And when it spawns randomly somewhere in the zone, everybody's going to get notified that this thing is spawned in the world, and there's going to be this
In the
mad
world,
dash
everyone's going
in
to...
Cyrodiil.
Oh, okay, only in Cyrodiil.
In Cyrodiil.
Okay.
And everybody's going to make a mad dash for it, and they're going to want to pick it up, because when they do, they get this...
Do they know where it spawns?
No.
Ooh.
So they will, when it does spawn, they'll know where it is, and they can go to that location. But when they pick it up, they become super powerful, so think Emperor buffs, and their hotbar is going to swap out, and they're going to get 6 brand new abilities. So 5 abilities and an ultimate. And that's going to turn them into this juggernaut of chaos.
But when everyone is already there trying to get the weapon, it's going to be one juggernaut versus hundreds of other players.
There's going to be some chaos. There's going to be some carnage. They're going to be able to, break into keep walls, like all kinds of crazy stuff. It's really awesome. But there's a rub.
Okay.
So this is Sheogorath.
Yes.
And he always kind of has stipulations. He plays games. And so the rub with the Valen Drum is that you have to feed it, constantly feed it. And the way you feed it is by killing other players. And if you're not killing other players, it's going to eat you and kill
Were
you.
you guys in the dev team just be like, we need more chaos. Let's just shake things up a bit.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Wheeler has some crazy ideas sometimes. He's the lead PvP designer, and we loved this idea. And so we're like, jump on it, let's do this. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, for people that want to be in a more combative setting, they can go to Cyrodiil. And if they don't want to, they just avoid Cyrodiil.
Exactly. For the longest time, we've gotten tons of feedback about, Emperor is really strong. There's not really a counter to Emperor. People can hold Emperor. This is a really good counter to Emperor, and is going to just throw all kinds of chaos into Cyrodiil.
And you said that he throws down one weapon. What does that mean? That there's the...
We're going to start with one with Valen Drum and kind of see how it goes. And if players really love it, yeah, we'll probably do some more.
Whew.
So the other bit of PvP love that's going to come in Cyrodiil is we're actually going to take Imperial City and we're going to turn it into its own campaign. So we're going to remove it from Cyrodiil. It's going to be its own campaign. And that's going to give us kind of 2 things. One, it's going to remove some overhead, reduce some overhead of having this extra zone kind of in there, so performance will get a little bit better. But it's also going to make Imperial City hopping. People are going to be in there. Imperial City is so much fun when there's tons of people running around in there. It's just chaos. And so that is going to make PvP so much fun in Imperial City.
But there's not just PvPers in the game.
There's not.
We got people that enjoy trials.
We do. We have a raiding group, a very vocal raiding group, and so there is some love coming for them as well. I'm not going to dig too much into details on it, but what I will say is the trial is called Sunspire.
Okay.
It is focused entirely on dragons, so you get to fight big, badass, powerful dragons. It is a full trial, so it is full of base pop and bosses and really cool mechanics. We're shooting for, Mauve Lorcage style, length. So it's this big, full trial. And the really unique thing about this trial is that each of the bosses in it has its own unique hard mode. So that's going to make so much more content for all of the veteran players who really get into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They're going to love it. And
actually have some difficulty in the
have some difficulty, and it's gonna, push them, which is gonna be fun.
Unfortunately, Rich, I think we need to push ourselves as well because we're talking too much about all these things, and we gotta move on to Wrathstone DLC, our lovely Wrathstone right here.
That's the Wrathstone tablet, yeah, and we kind of did things a little bit out of order. We talked about quarter 2, but this is quarter 1, so
bear with us.
Sorry, a little excited. But yeah, Wrathstone is gonna kick the year off of the year-long story, the Season of the Dragon, if you will. It's 2 dungeons and some really cool quality of life improvements and a new feature. And we actually have another video from the team that will give you a sneak peek about the videos or the dungeons.
So it's a year-long adventure, and we're going to bring you to 2 dungeons first. To kick off Wrathstone, we have Frost Vault and Depths of Malatar. In Frost Vault and Depths of Malatar, you're going to be seeking out both halves of the Wrathstone tablet.
In Frost Vault, half of the tablet has been sealed away by the Dwemer in a vault deep within the mountains of Eastmarch.
Frost Vault has all manner of creatures in it. Goblins, Dwemer, traps, and you're gonna have to battle through all of those to get to the Wrathstone.
In Depths of Malatar, you will discover that the tablet has been sealed away deep within the sunken city of Garlus Malatar, where it is protected by followers of Meridia who have devoted their very life and essence to making sure that the tablet never sees the light of day again.
You're gonna go against goblin tribes,
Dwemer traps,
crazy constructs, and even get turned into a tiny skeevatin.
collapsing bridges and structures, and I cannot wait to see how players handle it. Once you deliver the tablet halves to Abner Tharn, he takes you on this adventure that leads to the halls of Colossus, and you witness the biggest fuck-up of his career.
Wrathstone is just the first part of the entire story that brings dragons to Tamriel, and we can't wait to see players dig in and face all these new challenges.
Just as Mike and Michelle said, there are 2 new dungeons coming in the Q1 Wrathstone DLC.
Yeah, and they tie. You can already see how they tie into the lore and kind of the story and the setting, and that's something that's really important for us. We want to tell this year-long story, and Michelle actually called it straight out. These in the dungeons, they are holding or they are vaults for both sides of the Wrathstone tablet. And when Abner Tharn gets them, he is under the impression that these tablets will lead him to a power that will allow him to bring peace to Tamriel. That's what he's always tried to do. In the base game, he tried to do that with Mannimarco and the Prophet, and that kind of went south. And so he's at it again, and his heart's in the right place.
But it's like the Always Sunny in Philadelphia music starts playing.
That's right, and as you kind of go on this adventure with him, you're going to run into Chimera, who was the Khajiit, the female Khajiit in the trailer, and the 3 of you are going to go off. You're going to discover the fabled halls of Colossus, and you're probably going to unleash some dragons on players and on the Khajiit, which, P.S., it is totally your fault.
There's a lot of story that's going to be built onto this, but when the event starts, you're going to get a message from someone. Yeah,
Abner Tharn will call you up. We kind of teased this to some of our players where we sent the tablet and we sent this really cool invitation. That's how it's going to kick off, and then you're going to go through that storyline and get super hyped about releasing dragons.
Not just content, though. We're getting some new features.
We are, and I'm really, really excited about these features. The first one that we're going to talk about is Zone Guide, and this tool is essentially a way for players to help figure out what to do in a zone. And so you can see here, this player's kind of gotten in the zone, they're not sure what to do. When they open up their map, on the left side, there's kind of this at-a-glance view of the zone and their progress. And there's a little button there, you click on it, it says go to Zone Guide. And when you're at the Zone Guide, you get this brief synopsis of the story and some of the meta achievements and kind of your progress. And when you click the button, it zooms into where the next step in the story is, where the NPC is. It changes kind of the icon in there, and it makes it really, really easy for you to kind of get in and figure out where you left off.
Yeah, well, as you said, or maybe not you said, but in the videos, that 2018 was the biggest addition of players. So this is definitely going to be helping a lot of those newer players that jump into the game.
It's not just new players as well, though. So our game is so content dense. There's so much to do. It's super easy to get distracted when you're kind of going around. You could do pledges one day or jump into Cyrodiil another or whatever, and it's hard to remember where you were. This tool is going to be useful for those players as well.
Nice.
And P.S., this is going to be on PTS next week.
Next week. The Wrathstone DLC?
Yes.
PTS
it'll be on
next
PTS
week.
next week that you can go in, you can jump in, and you can play test it. And it's going to be really exciting.
All right, the last feature that you're adding as well, Guild Trader UI revamp.
Yes. So this is something that we've gotten a ton of feedback on over the years. And you can kind of see here, the team has gone back and they've completely re-architected this. There's a whole bunch of new filters in there that you can sort things with. There's a recent searches list where you can quickly and easily go back and research for things. There's also text search now, real honest-to-God text search where you can start to type in the name of an item. The drop-down list will start to populate with those items, and you click it and you search for it, and it's only going to pull in the items that match that text.
A much-needed quality of life change.
It is. It's huge. It makes searching for things on the Guild Trader so much easier. It makes it faster and way more reliable. And both of these tools, we just showed kind of the PC UI because it was really quick and easy for us to do, but console players are going to get these as well. This supports both PC and gamepad UI.
That's fantastic. I'm sure there's a lot of console players out there for other games that kind of feel like they're left in the weeds a little bit.
A little bit. Our PC players in particular have a little bit of advantage. They have mod support. Consoles, we don't have that yet, so this is a really good way to kind of improve their quality of life.
Nice. Rich, we talked a lot about Q1 and Q2. Now we're going to briefly touch on the last two quarters. Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So we're going to do 2 more updates after quarter 2. So quarter 3 is going to be a dungeon DLC, similar to Wrathstone. Quarter 4 is going to be a story DLC, similar in scope and size to, say, Murkmire.
Oh, okay.
And that is the culmination of the year-long story. So there's a bunch of really cool things in there, really interesting surprises. Totally not going to talk about that yet. We're going to save that for E3.
E3.
And that's also where the next trailer is going to be, is E3 as well.
Man, this is a huge year for Elder Scrolls Online. We got dragons, we got Elsweyr, we got Necromancer.